Violet Jones of Intestinal Distress Taco Restaurant has recently hired a brand new assistant manager named Fred Beans. Fred has turned out to be an absolute nightmare supervisor who has no social, communication, or interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are the tools people use to interact and communicate with individuals in an organizational environment. There are 7 main areas of interpersonal communication that Fred fails at with his workers, and this has led to his immediate termination after working only 1 month. The 7 areas are verbal communication, nonverbal communication, listening skills, negotiation, problem solving, decision making, and assertiveness. Let's look at the case of Fred Beans to see what happens when employees do not have the interpersonal skills needed to perform at work. Fred failed miserably in verbal communication with his entire staff. The definition of verbal communication is how and what words are used to communicate with individuals. It is the ability to communicate through words with the correct tone and manner. Fred's initial week with Intestinal Distress Taco revealed that he was not capable of good verbal communication. He mumbled orders and then screamed when employees did anything wrong. Most employees grew to dread working with Fred because they could not understand his directions. He also was not a good nonverbal communicator as well. Another type of interpersonal skills is nonverbal communication, which consists of facial expressions, body language, and hand gestures. Fred only communicated with negative nonverbal communication, which consisted of frowns and angry stares. All of the employees prefer Violet's professional demeanor as she speaks clearly and is animated with positive nonverbal communication. She always has a smile on her face and uses her hands to further explain complicated directions. Two-way communication is essential when developing a set of excellent interpersonal skills. Fred also has very ineffective listening skills, which has led to a store crisis happening each week. Listening skills are the ability to hear attentively and process information correctly. Fred was not paying attention when one of the employees told him that they were low on taco meat. Later that week, the store ran out of meat and had to close down temporarily until a shipment was delivered. Violet was furious at Fred's tendency to ignore important pieces of employee communication. She quickly put him on probation. Fred's behavior continued to decline during the month. Negotiation is the next type of interpersonal skills that is important to effective business communication. This term means having the ability to discuss and reach an agreement in a professional manner. Violet excels in negotiation, as employees and customers are always complaining or asking for favors. She is good at listening and discussing situations and then coming up with a fair solution. On the other hand, Fred ignores any request for discussions and rules with an iron fist. This has caused his employees to view him as unfair and undiplomatic, especially when it comes to solving problems. The 5th type of interpersonal skill is problem solving. This is a very important skill for business people to have, as constant problems are a common result within organizations. The ability to find a solution to a problem after considerable thought is Violet's forte. She has solved numerous issues for the restaurant, including how to increase monthly sales. On the other hand, when Fred is faced with a problem, he ends up in a panic. Last week, a customer complained about the quality of their taco meal. Fred took the complaint personally and ended up calling the customer picky. Violet had to intercede by offering the customer an apology and a few free meal coupons to use for the future. Analyzing options is another interpersonal skill that Fred has yet to master. A manager has to be able to analyze situations and develop a professional solution within an organizational environment. Decision-making is a key element of interpersonal skills. Fred is rash and does not take rational steps to complete a thorough analysis of any work situations. He recently fired an employee he thought was stealing his private candy supply on his desk. He assumed it was the teenage employee because Fred thought that the young kid had a thief look to him. Later, Violet pointed out that a veteran employee was caught taking numerous breaks and made excuses to go by Fred's office. It turns out that Fred had fired the wrong employee. The restaurant is now facing legal action from the wrongfully terminated teenager. The last interpersonal skill that Fred lacks is the ability to be assertive in situations. The last interpersonal skill that is invaluable in a work environment is the ability for individuals to be assertive. This means that employees are self-assured and confident in their actions. Violet is very assertive and successful at work. The employees respect her and will listen to her words. She is confident from years of successful restaurant management and customer relations training. Fred is not assertive at work, and his yelling does not make him more successful. Employees do not trust his decisions, as he is always changing his mind mid-project. He altered the price of the tacos 4 times in one day. After more than enough time to improve his situation, Violet received instructions to terminate Fred, as his lack of interpersonal skills was a big detriment to the organization. Lesson summary. The ability to communicate within an organization depends heavily upon people's interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are the tools people use to interact and communicate with individuals in an organizational environment. The 7 types of interpersonal skills that are needed to succeed in an organizational environment are verbal communication, nonverbal communication, listening skills, negotiation, problem solving, decision making, and assertiveness. If an employee does not have this skill set, they are in danger of making poor decisions, having poor communication skills, and causing big problems at work, just like Fred did.